Mahalo everyone and welcome to another deck video here on the Jolly Scarecrows channel. You're with me Joe, and today I'm going to present to you the first in our festive deck series where we're building a deck based upon some part of the Christmas festival, and I'm focusing upon Santa's elves and the making of presents, and also a little bit of the food and the scary relatives that might visit you. I've tried to mash this all together in a way that involves this card here, the Mystical Elf Mystical Burst Stream. Essentially the whole deck was based around this one card. So I'll run it through because it's currently only an OCG exclusive, so if you haven't seen it before. When your opponent's monster activates an effect, if you control a level 5 or higher normal monster, you can summon this from the hand and negate that effect. It's a bit like a side frame driver, but worse. Then, during your opponent's battle phase, you can special summon a normal monster from the graveyard, and all of your opponent's monsters have to attack it. And so this clearly lends itself to monsters like Millennium Shield and Labyrinth Wall, which, you summon back, they've got 3000 defense, all your opponent's monsters are ramming into it. And from there, what you're going to be wanting to do is boost their defense with something like a D2 shield. That's 6000 defense, and if your opponent has 2 or more monsters on the field, they're going into it, the chances are they're not going to survive for very long. So how do we go about setting this up? Well, the nice thing is that there are other Christmas themed cards that work really well in that process, namely Box of Friends. So when this wonderful present box is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you get to special summon 2 normal monsters with 0 attack or less, just like the Millennium Shield or the Labyrinth Wall. They get destroyed during the next end phase, but hopefully you will have used them up by then. In reality, what you do is you focus on a new set of cards, namely these doll monsters, these Christmas presents that you're putting into the box that feature in the artwork of Box of Friends. And your other option is to bring out Rice Sushi, which I admit doesn't have much of a Western Christmas connotation, but might do in the East. And it's really just there as a monster with 0 defense, and it will also allow you to play the Suship cards as well as this Gunkan Suship, which can special summon if you've got it on the field. So your opening combo is often involving getting a bunch of these normal monsters on the field and then trying to get 2 4-stars to bring out the Princess Cologne, and I'll tell you more about that in a second. I'd like to first draw your attention to this Doll Happiness. Doll Happiness, the joy that one gets when they're opening a present, lets you search for your Box of Friends. You can immediately unlock it from the deck, and then you can open the box, destroy it, send it to the graveyard, and also chuck away the thing that's in it, because you don't actually like dolls anymore. This will obviously trigger this effect, special summoning 2 normals from the deck. You can either go with the 2 level 5s depending on your situation, but you're more often than not going to go for the 2 level 4s, like a Suship and another doll monster. This lets you bring out Princess Cologne. When this is summoned, you can bring back a Box of Friends from the graveyard, and if you control any other monster, they cannot target the Princess Cologne with cards, effects, or 4 attacks. Then, if a face-up normal monster you control is destroyed by battle, or by any card effect actually, you can detach a material to special summon 1 from the deck. So this even works when the monsters are going to be destroyed by the effect of Box of Friends. So that might trigger, and then you could bring out a Labyrinth Wall or Millennium Shield, and that's actually the main route that you initially get those out on the field as part of your first line of defense. From that point, then you are going to be wanting to use Doll Happiness's effect to search for the Grandpa Demetto. This lets you detach a material from the Princess Cologne and bring back 2 normal monsters as level 8 darks. So you can immediately go into nonsense rank 8 XEs like Galaxy Eyes or Erratic Sky Dragon. There's 3 spots for it. I guess the one you might not have seen as much is the Thunder End Dragon. The attached XEs will destroy all other monsters of the field. I mean, that's pretty cool, and it requires 2 level 8 normals. You can go from there, smash something into a battle, and then go into the Divine Arsenal afterwards. We're obviously running mostly XEs, so Arsenal comes out quite a bit. And yeah, pretty impressive standpoint. The icing on the cake of the deck is this card, Piercing the Darkness. So if you normal summon a normal during either player's turn, and that will happen, even if it's triggered by the Mystical Elf in the battle phase, is you get to draw a card. So yeah, you're constantly, even if you're going to maybe normal summon Rice Sue Ship, play Piercing the Darkness first, play the Sue Ship, you draw one, then you can then go into the Sue Ship Akura, and then you're straight away into a Cologne or any number of rank 4 XEs. The other cards kind of speak for themselves, really. Pot of Avarice, this deck runs out of monsters in no time, so this is often really useful. Unexpected Die is again your easy starter to get that Princess Cologne out as early as possible, or maybe something like an Emerald, which you can actually use its second effect to special summon a targeted monster in defense. And yeah, obviously the real aim is to either get that Mystical Elf, which is one of the few cards you can't search, but you get rid of so many cards in this deck that you're quite likely to run into it if you're playing a couple of turns already. And get that out, you can often even just bring it out in attack mode if you want to. It's only got 800, but it'll never be beaten in battle because it'll bring back a Labyrinth Wall and all your opponent's monsters have to attack it. So yes, that is the majority of the main deck. I think I've gone through most of the extras. What you can end up with sometimes is these 2 level 5s, and this card, Greedy Saramea, is pretty interesting for that, in terms of if your opponent's using maybe a burn strategy because they can't get over the 6,000 attack worth of defense, and with a combination of Piercing the Darkness and Princess Cologne, they can't do much. I didn't actually mention the second effect of this, in terms of when you can start going on the rampage with things like Labyrinth Wall, because it gains attack equal to your opponent's attack. And yeah, it's pretty impressive. Plus, with Doll Happiness in the field, your opponent cannot target monsters with 0 attack or defense 4 attacks. So that can leave them stuck. So they might often go for some kind of burn effect, like a rail cannon or something like that, supported with Greedy Saramea, and any effect damage goes to them instead. So they're still going to struggle if you've got the Mystical Elf up. So there's quite a few fun ways you can play this deck. Obviously it's not wonderfully competitive, but it is quite fun and homogeneous deck for you to try out. And yes, with that, I'll see you for the next Christmas video, which will be coming out in a week's time. Yeah, have a merry start to the Yuletide season.